series did I just watch? Oh, not the Black Phone. That's the horror movie.
The Night Agent.
The Night Agent. Yes.
Yes, I knew exactly what you meant when you said the black phone. You're getting
That's a
canceled.
completely different thing. Hey, greetings, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Heroes Peak podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and with me today, the illustrious, the king of the nerds, according to our last competition, and obviously the oldest. Are you the oldest here, or is
No,
Mike
Mike's the
older?
oldest.
Mike's the
Yeah,
oldest.
Mike's oldest.
Oh, okay. Anyway, on this podcast for the two of us, the oldest Star Wars fan, it's James. How you doing, James?
That is right. And yes, I'm looking forward to defending my title as King of the Nerds
Yeah, where's
next
Brooksy?
year.
Jeez.
Back to back, baby, back to back.
All right. So it's May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. You know?
And also with you.
That's right. And it's funny, I was looking this up. Star Wars Day, technically the first official one was 2011, which is a lot more recent than I guess I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was older than that.
First Facebook group, 2008, was celebrating Luke Skywalker Day. So it's all relatively new. But the phrase itself goes back to 1979, when the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom congratulated Margaret Thatcher using the phrase "May the 4th be with you." Congratulations after her election.
I did not know that. Oh, okay.
That's a weird little fact from Wikipedia there. I was like, what? I guess after Star Wars comes out and May the Force be with you is a popular
Yeah, that was
phrase,
2 years. Movie came out in
people
77, so 2 years later
immediately
became
start
a thing.
plagiarizing it for their own means.
Interesting.
So I got to celebrate. If you follow our Twitter at all, you'll know this, but I got to celebrate by going to see Return of the Jedi yesterday night, with my daughter and a friend of ours, and had a great time. I have not seen that movie in a few years. I
Hold on,
don't do like an annual
Chris.
yearly watch of anything.
Which version did they release
Oh,
for you to watch?
all right. It was the special editions. They're not. I'm begging Lucasfilm and Disney. I'm begging you to release the original non-special editions, please, because that music change and the specific change is mostly recognizable in Jabba's palace, is where it's real obnoxious.
That was terrible.
Because it's just, I understand, like, oh, we thought it was little sparse characters, so we're putting people in the background and stuff like that. But no, they changed the song. They now have like a harmonica, weird harmonica alien.
It's in my. Listen, I haven't seen that scene in a while. It's still in my head.
And they close up of like the blues singing aliens for some reason. Like, it just kills the whole vibe of that scene, which is great. The whole, like, going into it, I was like, oh, this is so good. Everything is perfect about this scene. The 3PO is amazing in that scene, and then like the torturing of the droids. Like, I love watching it with new eyes, and I've seen it a million times, but like, I'm watching them do the droid torture, and he's got like this hot press come down his feet. But then you see it stop like this far from his feet, and like little jets of air come out from the feet themselves.
I think I sent you that GIF. I sent someone that GIF today.
It's just, it's of its age. I have zero problem with the way the special effects are, even if I will make fun here and there of a few things. It's for as long as I remember, it's been my favorite Star Wars movie, and it still is. Um, it really does
Interesting.
hold
We
up,
differ.
but I just ask why George Lucas, when he had time and money and effort to put in there, he left things like lightsabers casting shadows in and decided to go in and spend all his money to add weird musical numbers that really didn't need to be changed. That's just like a question I have for him. Like what was in his brain that for years he was going, you know what, I really wanted a more bluesy tune going in there when
I
it was
mean,
just
I
like
hear
this
you.
vibe.
Some of that stuff didn't make it. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I agree with you. But I think the more travesty that was executed by George Lucas isn't the musical numbers, isn't the
Mm.
CGIs here and there. There's a bit of good CGI though, and when they're going to Jabba's palace, there's like scenes of aliens out in the climate and the regions that were added in the newer
Yeah,
versions you saw.
that's stuff
To
fine.
me,
That
that
that's
made it. Yeah, that's
life to the
cool.
planet. That's okay, but you're taking something that's
However,
just background and you're saying, okay,
yeah,
we're gonna add life to this.
yes. So pluses and minuses there. But to me, the biggest negative is the ending. How do you not get between taking away the original Anakin
Mm.
Skywalker, played by an actor now that no one will ever remember, who was in the original version, and bringing back Hayden Christensen's Force Ghost as the younger
Unnecessarily.
version of Anakin, and then
Unnecessary.
interrupting the Ewoks' little yub nub and celebration with showing all these random scenes throughout the Galactic Empire, or now whatever the New Republic, with
Mm-hmm.
like fireworks and fanfare that doesn't add anything to the movie. Like, what was he thinking about that decision?
Hashtag Yubnub. Like, bring back Yubnub. I love Yubnub.
Yub nub.
It's, but I
I
agree with
keep thinking
you.
of
Like,
Family
you sitting
Guy's
there.
joke about Yub nub.
I understand that. At least I get this whole like idea that if he's ending this trilogy the way he was seeing it, it's the end of this story, and he wants to display that this victory is for the whole universe and not just for this group. But to be honest, just because you kill the head of state doesn't mean that the entire army gives up, as we've seen going
As we
through um,
yes,
Mandalorian and some other ancillary materials. But I,
correct,
it was a
correct.
little overdone. It wasn't like it was
Yeah,
like word gets passed around and you see a few little celebrations. It was like every planet congregated into one city.
big party like it was New Year's across the entire empire.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was a bit much.
that still
But
doesn't explain the Anakin Skywalker Christian Haydenson swap.
no,
That to
I
me is
don't
just
like it,
terrible.
especially if you're not going to replace Obi-Wan.
Yes. I was gonna say, I'm glad you said it first. Like you could have switched out the actors too for Obi Wan. Instead of Alec
Yeah,
Guinness, you could have brought in
it, it just
Ewan McGregor.
looks weird. Now, obviously, we're not talking that the idea that Anakin Skywalker gets a Force Ghost is bad because really, we're not going there.
That's another
We're
debate.
not
We've had
going
that
deep
debate
into
before.
this.
Yeah.
What we're saying, just give. I want to say David Prowse, but that's Chewbacca.
No, that's Chewbacca, yeah. I
Um,
forget the actor's name.
yeah, it's escaping me, but he
And that's the sad
deserved.
part.
Yeah,
That's the sad part.
he also deserved that image because that's what he was. He was Darth Vader. That's who Darth Vader was at the time of his death. There's no reason. At least, I mean, it wasn't like he was burned to a crisp and missing an arm and a leg and robot or some
Like we
hopping one
just
leg,
like 20 minutes ago, you just saw his face when he took his helmet off. So
and
it's
then it's
like
Hayden Christensen. Don't worry. If George was still in charge, they probably would have
Luke should have
changed
been
that by
Luke
now.
should, when Luke was looking at it, she was like, "Who's this guy? Like, what happened to my dad?"
Yeah, George would have changed out the put Hayden Christensen in there eventually in the suit.
Yeah, and he would have put in the CGI Yoda instead of the puppet Yoda.
uh, I
But yeah,
I love
but
Yoda
I
so
mean, all
much.
of this all this I was taking away from your experience. I'm sorry, we went on a whole tangent
No,
about the technicalities of the movie. But what was your experience in the theater with live audience watching this movie?
I was surprised. So it, I get caught up. Like I don't really pay attention to who's around me too much. Like I'll I'll like tap my kid on the shoulder if I'm having something specific I'm reacting to or whatnot. But otherwise, I just get engrossed, and especially in a movie like this that I just enjoy. I'm just totally enthralled in it. So when we get in there, we got in there not too early, 15 minutes early or whatever, but I noticed it was about 50% full. And I was like, okay, that's not bad for 7:30 on a in middle of the week on a Tuesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a Wednesday. I'm like, that's pretty good. And then people kept trickling in, and then when I got up to leave, I look around and the place was like 90% full. Now, it's
Wow.
not a huge theater, it's not like it was like 500 seats or something, but still, you know, I was like, wow, this is drawing a decent amount of a crowd. I was
Yeah,
I was
middle of the
quite,
week yeah, that's interesting. And
and
it's
there
it's
was
not a new release movie either, too. So let's be honest,
no,
it's
and
not
there
like
was like
Guardians coming out.
in my area we had two theaters that were carrying it, and I chose the one because the other one was only IMAX, and I'm not a big fan of the IMAX experience. I feel like I'm sitting front row wherever the hell I am. So go to the regular theater. But and there was probably a dozen showings in each.
Hmm.
And so if mine, was 90% full, if most of them, it's making a couple $1 million. It's could come into what, $10 million or something. I wonder.
Yeah.
I'd
Let me
be
ask you this
interested in looking up.
question:
Hmm.
knowing that this was obviously it's an old classic movie, did you feel like were the audience like cheering along? Were they interactive as if it was like
No,
a brand new movie seen for the first
no,
time,
no,
or was
no, no.
everybody
This
just
is
eerily
this is a
quiet, just watching, and then when the credits rolled, they got up and like clapped?
this is an old white suburb like crowd.
Okay,
So we
gotcha.
get in there,
It's
and
like
when it
watching Murder She
starts,
Wrote.
which I have, we just finished that entire series.
Of course, you have.
We have.
Go ahead.
Um, we love murder mysteries. Anyway, so it started. Everybody clapped. That was nice. Started. I was excited. 20th Century Fox theme.
Mm,
So that was nice.
the good old
And
days, Disney.
that's right. And we start the movie. There's not a lot of audience response to it, but at the end, everybody got up, and
Interesting.
there was an applause at the end. Afterwards. So there was that much in the sense of audience response. A few laughs here and there, maybe, but again,
Anyone in
I really
cosplay?
wasn't.
Because I know in this area, there's people who would definitely be in cosplay going to watch the movie.
No, I was decked out. I had the shirt, the hat, the socks. Not that anybody can see it, but I was fully
Yeah,
decked
I guess
out
it's your
yesterday.
area. Must be your area.
It is. I have a boring area. It's fine. The only people I've ever seen dressed up were my own kids when we went to go see uh, Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, okay. I assume that your kids had already seen the movie, right? It wasn't like their first time seeing it. They've seen it before.
Now here's a this is
Oh
this is
boy.
a good question, because my neighbor's son has definitely seen it. He was big into Star Wars. We used to watch stuff all the time when he was little. He's now 14, so
Hmm.
he's still little, but not little. He's taller than I am. Jesus. But my daughter has gone with me to every Star Wars since Episode 7 release. Now,
Hmm.
I can't imagine myself not showing her the other Star Wars before that. But when I asked her, she said she hadn't seen it, which makes me a terrible parent, by the way. But I was like, really? I could have swore, but I don't know. She wasn't.
Interesting.
She was never like super into the sci-fi stuff at that age, because she's now 17. So it came out, what, 10 years ago? Episode
Let's talk
seven.
about the prequels. Oh, episode 7? No, it wasn't 10 years ago. It was more recent than that.
Really? Let's see here. Star
Oh, maybe it was 10
Wars
years ago. 2012.
Episode 7
Yeah.
release. 2015, 8 years ago.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right, so she was
Close.
10. She was 10. So, but she just wasn't super into sci-fi stuff at that point. So even if we were watching it, it's not like she would just like sit and get enthralled or anything like that. So I'm sure I played the movies because, like I said, the neighbor's son who we had over all the time, we would watch it. He was a big Anakin Skywalker kid. So like
Mm.
I'm sitting there
From
going,
from from the
oh
prequels, right? Anakin in the
yeah,
prequels.
we were watching the prequels constantly. Like I must have seen those 500 times just because that was his favorite, and he loved Anakin Skywalker. So you know, but and young kids, they don't always have the same, for our media they don't have the same reaction. So you can't necessarily go in and watch A New Hope. It doesn't have the same action level as like Revenge of the Sith, right? those
Correct.
those two movies, there's an
I
excitement
know what
level
you're getting
difference
at there.
for
Yeah. I
younger
know what you're getting at
kids.
there.
Um, and they eventually come around back to it and they love it and whatnot. But so we'll be watching all of those, in preparation because I hope we'll get more of this. So what I
Yeah.
got?
I definitely go if they do Empire. I definitely want to see Empire in the movie
So
theater.
Empire
That's my
came out in
favorite. That's
80.
my personal favorite. Yeah.
So 2 years you'll have the 45th anniversary.
Yeah. 45th. Yep. I
I
agree with
can't
that.
imagine them not releasing it for the 45th.
Yeah, I definitely do it for that one.
I mean, they should probably do it every 5 years now. At this point, we should just repeat these things every 3 years, just
It's
a
easy
week.
money for them. Low hanging
That's
fruit.
right.
Come on.
That's right. A week in the theater. That's all it is. It's only been in there a week, maybe a week and a half. Get a couple of $1 million. People are enjoying it. People talking about it. People excited. They'll go home, turn on Disney Plus, and
If they're
they'll get excited.
smart, they would get at, I hate to say it, the big locations, LA, New York. You get like people who are actually involved in the creation of the movie to doing Q&A after the airing of one of these movies. That
Oh yeah.
gets so many people interested just to go back there, just to hear somebody who was on the set, who's part of stage production, who was the assistant director at the time,
Mhm. Speaking
But
of
we
Carrie
digress.
Fisher, Carrie Fisher officially got a star in the Hollywood Walk of
Hollywood.
Fame
Yep.
today, with her daughter being in attendance, and Mark Hamill and R2
Long
and
overdue.
C3PO, because those two
Long
are.
overdue.
That's right.
Yeah. Was Harrison
Congratulations
Ford
to
not
them.
there?
I did not see
Harrison
him in
Ford?
any of the pictures, but he just released. I don't know if he's in the middle of something, because he's got a couple of. He's got a TV
He's
show out
busy.
now. He's got a movie coming
He
out.
has Shrinking. He has
The
yeah, he's got
dude
a
is
lot. He's got a
active
lot of
at 80 something. So
yeah.
yeah, but yeah,
All right.
happy Star Wars Day. Try to be positive. Yes, I know we get into some of these things where we complain, but we enjoy it. That's what we love, talking about it.
Yeah. And that's the
You
reason
know,
why we complain as much as we do. Like Chris and
that's
I
right.
have gone to the point where you thought we were bitter enemies because we are both passionate about this stuff. We
That's
care
right.
about it. If we didn't care about it, it would be like, yeah, whatever,
It'd
Like
be
the most
like talking.
passionate sports team fans, like Keith and Brooks, Knicks and Lakers,
Notice how much we
similar.
talk about the DC universe right now.
Exactly. Yes, not good.
It'll
All
come
right.
back. I'm sure. I'm sure it will. All right. Well. May the fourth be with you. Happy Star Wars Day, everybody. And watch Visions. First two episodes, great, fantastic. Season 2, awesome. We'll talk about
Yeah,
it
I've
when we
only seen
watch
the
them
first
all.
episode. And leave comments below on your favorite Star Wars movie, not TV show, um, not Disney Plus show, not animated shows, just your favorite live action movie. I'm interested to see where we rank because you said Return of the Jedi. I have Empire. I think might skew towards Empire as well, but yeah, I'm interested in seeing those comments. All right.
Yeah, and then you'd go down the list. You'd be like Empire and the Last Jedi
No, no,
and
no, no,
Rogue
no, no.
One and
Yes.
New Hope.
Definitely not Last Jedi.
And
Last
yeah,
Jedi sitting next to Phantom Menace. They're like
no,
best
it's high.
buds.
And this is where we get into it, and where we're not going to do that today.
See, like we just can't help ourselves. All right,
it goes.
let's take a break.
Yeah, let's take a break. When we get back, we're gonna talk about Chris Evans and Anna de Armas in Ghosted. When we get back. Hey everybody, welcome back to a Heroes Peak review hour. Well, not an hour because this movie is not going to take us an
Oh
hour to
no,
review.
please no, please,
Is
please no, please no.
so we are going to talk about Ghosted. This is an Apple TV movie, original action comedy, action rom com,
Action rom
starring
com.
Chris
There you go.
Evans and Anna de Armas. Which, when I first saw it and I first saw the trailer, I said, "Oh, that's a good cast. This could be good." Little did I know, and
Little did you know.
little did I. Um, so Anna de Anna de oh
Anna
wow,
de Armas
de
and Chris Evans,
Armas, the
who's
double
now in
the
like
double
three movies
A.
together. Yeah, this is like their third movie together. They did
They did
Knives
the
Out.
Perot, not Perot. What's the knives?
Yeah, the first Knives Out movie.
Yeah, the Knives Out. Okay, yeah.
I thought they did something else before that, but I could be wrong.
But she plays like an international spy who's having some sort of a midlife, some sort of a little crisis, and runs into Chris Evans's just normal dude, and they go out on a great date, and then she goes off, does her spy thing, and he decides he's going to follow her, and he gets caught up in international intrigue for all the laughs that you would like for the first 45 minutes. Anyway, so let's see here. Let's start with just the premise. Now we've seen a few. There's been a few action rom coms out here. Got Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is Brad
The
Pitt,
OG.
Angelina Jolie. Great, great duo. Like those two have chemistry. They
Yep.
did. Night and Day, Tom Cruise and Goop. What's her name?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow. Not as much chemistry, and I
Agreed.
think
So far, we're clicking. We're clicking.
that's right. And I think that's
But
a
good
Tom Cruise.
writing. Still good writing. Good
It's all
script
right. It's
writing.
all right. But Tom Cruise is a good action guy, but he doesn't really do romance. I think it's the thing. He does action. He does some comedy. He does some drama. His
He does
romance,
romance. Freaking Maguire. Jerry Maguire.
I guess so. I guess the romantic drama, but it didn't feel like his side wasn't doing the romance stuff as much as he was getting from
Yes.
Renee
And that's a comment we've
Zellweger.
made in almost every one of his movies when he has a female lead. The female lead has to be strong to drag that out of him. You can't
Right,
have,
and
what's her name from Maverick? Yeah. Agreed.
that's right.
But
That's
yeah.
right. That's right. And that worked. It worked in Maverick, but again, it wasn't the strongest part of the movie, but it did work because there was someone there. Um, I don't know if you ever saw Mr. Right.
No, I have not.
Oh,
There's still one other
okay,
movie though you're missing, a big one.
yeah, the
That's
recent
now
one.
also a TV show that Mike and I
Um,
watch.
which one is it?
True Lies.
Oh, True Lies. Now, I
Yeah,
had
that's
this
the other
question.
OG.
I questioned this on our chat whether this was actually a rom com or whether it was a rom with the
You
com,
did. Yeah, you did.
because I don't know if it has any of the romantic comedy tropes. It has all the action, it has the comedy, it has some romance, but I don't
So
know if it
this
has.
movie, this is what I think. This
All right,
movie really is
we
closest
should talk
to
about this movie.
True Lies. Because True Lies is a movie where we go back Schwarzenegger and who just won the freaking Oscar from Everything
Jamie
Everywhere
Lee
All at Once.
Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis. They're a married couple. They live in the suburbs. He is pretending to be a regular stay-at-home husband, corporate dad. In reality, he's an international espionage spy. She gets caught in one of his missions and reveals himself to her, and then she has to go along with him as being like the
Mm-hmm.
sidekick, like a.
Great movie,
So,
fantastic.
by the way, it's also a great TV show now. Also,
Eh,
Mike and I are
I
watching.
guess I've only seen one episode. I shouldn't judge
It
on one
gets better.
episode.
It gets better. No, it gets
Okay.
better. It does get better. The first two episodes, eh, after three, it gets really better. Once the family gets involved, it's very interesting. To me, this movie is closest to that in relation to the concept of some, you got love
Mm-hmm.
interest. You want to talk about romance? They're love interests, right? They dated,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. They're physically and emotionally attracted to each other. But one of them has this other side that is not made known in the beginning of the movie until some point in the first third arc of the movie. And now
Mm-hmm.
this other partner is involved in his espionage and actually has to help. And then the comedy is that the partner now having to go through like spy level hijinks, which is exactly what
Spy
True Lies
101,
did.
right?
Because remember, Jamie Lee Curtis had to pretend that she was also like a spy to go along with the mission that Arnold had to do, and she got
Yeah.
caught up in. So this movie, it's like a gender swap of the same movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Chris Evans is playing Jamie Lee Curtis's role, who's like he's like an agriculturist or something like some. I
He's
think Jamie
works
Lee
on his
Curtis is like
parents'
a
farm,
teacher,
and
and she
he's trying to write a book about.
horticulturist,
Right, he's trying to write a book about um history and horticulture or
Yes,
agriculture.
the
So
exact opposite of espionage. Whereas
right.
Arna the Armas character is a high level spy,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
she's
yeah.
able to like take down two or three armed gunmen. Although we'll talk about her actual mechanics, which I didn't like. But I think the
Oh.
concept of this movie on paper made sense. If you're a fan of the True Lies movie, and if you're a fan of the TV show right now, you would
Hmm.
enjoy this on concept alone. Execution is what bothered me in this movie, and I don't know if you want to get to that next, but the concept of
Yeah.
this movie to me, it's a good trope. It is a rom com. You've got two people who are romantically involved, at least on the surface level, and then you have where you understand there's certain things. It's not like watching Mission Impossible's level of
Hmm. Right. Yeah, yeah,
spy or like James Bond spy. It's more like, the bomb's never going to go down to zero. Whatever
yeah.
you
Right.
hit, it's going to stop at one type of.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, we can talk about this. So, what makes or breaks a rom com is the leads. It's their chemistry, how well they work together, and the whole first act of this movie is building that, which is a normal rom com thing. What did you think of Chris Evans and Anna de Armas, which we've seen both separately do well? Um, Coming together, did you think they had any spark? Was it mild? Was it as bad as like a Fast and Furious where there's nothing? Or
Yeah, I thought, first of all, looking at the Chris Evans's role, I thought this was a nice follow up to the Gray Man that he did last year, where
Mhm.
he played like the bad spy
Oh,
agent,
that's right. Yeah, he was the bad
opposite
guy.
of Ryan Gosling. So I
Right.
thought like he's continuing to show us that he's not just Captain America or Johnny Storm from Fantastic Four. Like he has a range, right? He has a
Mhm.
certain
Mhm.
range. I'm not saying he's Leonardo DiCaprio, but he has a range. So in the
Right.
trailers, I thought that with I'm now sound like you. I'm going to massacre her name.
It's hard to repeat it. I don't know why. I can say it once, but just call her Anna. Just call her Anna for now.
Anna.
Hello, this is Ana de Armas.
So, and seeing
Like
the
we know.
trailers with her and Anna, and I did like Anna's role in the Knives Out. So I
Mhm.
thought, okay, now she's gonna level it up, right? She's gonna show some. She's got some physicality to her, like Michelle Rodriguez in Dungeons and Dragons, or
Mhm.
dare I say, Charlize Theron and other high level Scarlett Johansson action stars. So once I watched them right off the bat, after like the very first action scene, past the date, past the ROM part of it,
Mhm.
I was like,
Mhm.
oh, this is not going to work. Oh, no, this is not
Oh.
believable. Oh,
See,
no,
I
no,
thought she
no,
was
no.
fine. I mean, I'm not saying she's Charlize Theron. I'm not saying she's at that level. But I thought she had above average actress action chops. Like, she's not Michelle Yeoh. She's not any of that
Did you
level.
see the
But
movie Lost City with Sandra Bullock and Channing
I
Tatum?
love Lost City. That's probably the best
That to
one in the
me,
last few
Sandra
years.
Bullock is showing you, without showing you she's Charlize Theron or Scarlett Johansson as a female role. I can believe that she's
But
physical in.
she's not doing act spy action type things. She's doing normal person thrown into the
True.
Indiana
Yeah,
Jones
true.
situation action,
You're right. You're right. You're right. I
which
take it back. I take it back. Yeah.
Sandra Bullock has been doing action since Speed, like a long
And
time.
Speed. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah,
she's
but
great at that. She's fantastic. She's one of the best at the I'm a normal person put into an action situation. She even did Miss Congeniality, which
she
she
did.
got to do
She did.
some cop
So
level type
let me
stuff. But
pivot.
I thought
That's a
she
bad
was
example. Let me.
I thought she was fine. I really know she's not Black Widow, but I think she's at least just like a step down from there. I thought she did
Chris, the
well
reason
in
I
the
want
role.
to pivot real quick is
Mm-hmm.
because of the physical direction. It made me believe her romantic involvement with Chris even less, because
Oh,
in the beginning of the movie, I was like, okay, they're just like playing off each other's tropes, whatnot. Okay, whatever. Let's get to the meat of the movie. And then you see Chris actually show like, okay, he doesn't know. He's a bumbling idiot. He's like Jack Chipper from Three's Company.
that
And
was,
then she's supposed to be the more well trained. And then she's talking to him, and their interaction from that moment on to me just felt like, oh, something is missing. And it's not just her physical moments; it's just the dialogue between the two of them is no longer believable to me.
well,
And that could be script. That maybe that's not her.
yeah,
Maybe it's the way the
that's
script was
true.
written.
I think some of it is they leaned really heavy into this antagonist version of these characters. So instead of these characters getting together and clicking, at first they antagonize each other, and then they kind of bumble their way back to a date, then have a great time, and then this whole spy thing ensues, kidnapping and whatnot. And then for the almost the entire second act, they are at each other's throats. Now some of it's funny, some of it works, but I think it was a little heavy-handed in that it lasted so long. So like there's this cool bus chase um where Anna is uh she hijacks a bus so they can get away from some terrorists. So she's driving this
Hmm.
giant, you know, brightly covered bus down these winding, hilly roads in Pakistan or something. And Chris Evans is trying to survive a fight with a guy in the back of the bus, and of course they're getting thrown around, and it's fun. And she's shooting guys, and she's doing all stuff while driving the bus and whatnot. But the two of them are just like every word they say to each other is antagonizing the other person, and it just I think it just hurts the romantic side of that thing. Like, okay, I get it. Sometimes this guy's supposed to be frustrated, she's supposed to be frustrated with him, and it's supposed to be
Here's where I
funny.
think the failure happened, and I don't want to. I'm incorrect in putting it on Anna de Armas. I think really is with the script and the
Mm-hmm.
direction, because if you go back to True Lies, when Julia Roberts' character was being intertwined with Arnold's character, she was the one that's frustrated with him. Like she's thrown in all these hijinks, and she's like, "You mean to tell me this whole time?" And then Arnold's playing a role. He's trying to comfort her. He understands
Right.
her situation. If Anna's character had been more like, okay, Chris, I mean, I wasn't, I think Cole is his name. I
Yeah.
get it. You don't know how to do this, but listen to me, trust me. Like if she was more like comforting and without belittling him too much, I think then the chemistry would have seemed a little more honest and genuine, as opposed
Yeah,
to
there
like,
there
what am
was
I
like a
watching on screen?
they put this character trait on him about being overly um attachable. I don't know what's the word I'm looking
Clingy,
for.
clingy.
Clingy. Yeah. where he gets clingy really quick. He texted her too much, and so she wasn't gonna
Which is
text
funny,
him
by the
back.
way. That's funny.
It
In
was funny. It
2023,
was
it's very
funny.
funny.
But then when things got going, the two just ended up being antagonizing to each other. And I think you're right. I'm agreeing with you that if we look at even like a night and day where it's Tom Cruise, he's not antagonizing his co-star. Obviously, the characters aren't antagonizing because he knows what he's doing. He's comfortable. He's trying to kind of drag that other person along in a safe manner because he's taking it upon himself to do that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and even though Ana de Armas is doing that, it feels like she's very willing at any point she's going to throw him out of the bus off the cliff. She just doesn't want to deal with him. And that's not the great rom-com energy I was looking
And
for.
that's the writers. You know what? And now the
Yeah.
more and more I'm listening to us talk about this, the more I feel guilty really putting the onus on her. And I should be directing my rants towards the writers of this,
All right.
because there's bigger things we could talk about with this movie.
All right.
But we
And
we focusing on the two leads, which
right.
rightfully so. But
Some
the
one
failures
thing
of
I
the
want to
two
bring
leads
up.
not jiving is the writing.
Mhm.
But go ahead.
So I like the two first acts better than the third act. But I thought the best comedy bits for me was Chris Evans's or Cole's family. I loved the family
Yeah,
dynamic. I thought it was fun. The sister was the
agreed.
standout for me. Let's see here.
Agreed.
What's the actress's name? Um, Lizzie Broadway. So she plays his sister, Maddie. So
Hmm.
I'm trying to figure out where I've seen Liz or Lizzie, whatever her.
Oh, look at
The
Adrian
Rookie.
Brody's on
She plays on The Rookie, the
acting.
television series. That's only two
Yeah, I
episodes.
used to watch that show. It's on ABC, Rookie and the Feds. Yeah.
NCIS. She's done a lot of television. Chicago PD, NCIS, Henry Danger.
You're talking about Lizzie Broadway, right?
Yeah. So she was great. She hit.
She was
She
in Shameless.
playing
Yeah, she was a lot of things.
playing that
She was in The
uh
Boys. How do we forget
playing that
her?
adult younger sibling. Picking at your sibling for all their faults. The family, the parents, they did a great job. I thought that was the best, most fun dynamic of the movie.
And
Um,
listen, I agree with you that was definitely Chris Evans to me was the MVP because he did a role that I thought was like some would say beneath him because of where he is right now in Hollywood, but he did it really well. And his family they work perfectly with him and the
mhm.
dynamics. But then once you get to the overall story with Anna de Armas, and then you got to throw some salt at Adrian Brody too, playing this villain.
Oh,
Like I
Adrian
don't I
Brody
don't know
was
what
kind of.
direction he got, or maybe it was the script because I've seen him play a bad guy recently in Succession TV show on HBO,
Mhm.
and he was very conniving and evil dude. This version of this mustache twirling, again, I don't know if it's the script, direction, or just Adrian Brody, but like that whole third act to me was what really dropped my liking of this movie.
Yeah, even with the two leads being a little bickering, which
Hmm.
is not my favorite dynamic, but
It's
can be
still,
fun. It
yeah.
still had uh, solid pacing, some fun action beats. It had a lot of chatter between characters. It had a high pace. It felt like it was going someplace, and you were getting play, and the characters were doing things. And then this third act lands, and it really kind of. And this is where there's like
Chris
this
is going to be so eloquent about this, and I'm going
there's
to be
this rom
raw.
com
Go ahead,
trope.
Chris.
Everybody knows the rom com trope where the star-crossed couple has to break up in order to come back together. Right?
Hmm.
Everything has to fall apart. Everybody has to
And then
be
they have to
sad.
trust each other in one final moment, believing
Somebody
each
has to
other to
someone
win the
has to
day.
chase someone to the airport. Someone has to stop a cab on the Brooklyn Bridge. Someone has to, knock at the door in the rain. They got to do
A
something.
flashback moment to a message or a saying that one of them said early in the movie.
but when you're doing an action movie, it's hard to like hit the brakes on the entire movie for about like 10 or 15 minutes so that you can show, well, this is where Cole's going and this is where Anna she's back at her work. Like it heads back to this thing where they go back to the FBI or CIA or something like that, and she gets put on an administrative leave and he's getting questioned, and it just like it's that last thing, it just pauses really long until they just decide to set up this really heavy-handed final action sequence where like the third act is just this kind of drawn out section and then an action sequence, and that's about it. um
I've seen better third acts in Transformers movies than
it really
this.
didn't work for this movie because it killed all the pace. It killed the character, um the characters finally coming together and being interactive. I don't know. I just think that the third act really killed the vibe. And I know I've complained about the first two acts. There's always something to complain about, but I think overall, sitting with the family, you were at least laughing at a few jokes, laughing at some funny physical comedy, um, and it just kind of all killed all the pacing.
Yeah, and the more I hear you, the more I want to start pointing fingers at the writing, and not so much the actors who were casted in these roles, or even the director, because he probably was working with. He had a budget, so he's got to throw all his money in that third act with the train and all those other shenanigans that was happening. With the
This
we
yeah,
should dissect the script. The freaking what were they trying to prevent again? It was some software code that I don't even remember anymore. That's how.
yeah, there was something in a case with a code. The code was to get into the case to get what was ever in the case.
The fact that we're sitting here after seeing the movie, we can't even remember what the MacGuffin was in
The
this
MacGuffin. It was
movie.
a MacGuffin. It was the MacGuffin.
It was a
Everybody's chasing the
MacGuffin.
MacGuffin. And then
To me, it
of course,
killed
the answer to the MacGuffin has to do with some horticulture thing. And so Chris Evans figures it out. He just happens to be the perfect person to
perfect
figure out the
person.
MacGuffin. But they're still gonna go and he's gonna step up and be the action hero, even though he can't be the action
He
hero.
can't be the
And
action
it turns out
hero.
exactly like you said. It's always gonna stop at 1 second. It's always gonna be okay. So, like acting like the action is gonna have stakes is unnecessary. Work on making it fun, less worry about making it feel like a superhero action scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, and I keep bringing this up. Lost City to me was a true action romance comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about the fact that you're right that Sandra Bullock's character wasn't really a spy, but there was moments in that final act where you're still doing the Indiana Jones thing, but you're still learning. You have emotional beats with her character and
Mm-hmm.
what's important to her, and
Yes.
conclusion of even after they save the day. She still feels like it was a journey for her from beginning to end. Whereas this movie, oh, even Jamie Lee Curtis in Arnold's movie, where at the end she now is part of the secret society, and she now understands her husband better, and her husband appreciates her more because
Mm-hmm.
before their marriage was a little bit on the rocks. There was no such growth in this movie with these two characters,
Yeah,
the co-leads. That is,
it's not like Chris Evans isn't going to be that guy that texts 25 times. It didn't feel like that was some kind of a growth for him. It didn't feel like I'm not even sure what the growth for Anna de Armas's character was supposed to be. Like she was a spy and then she had to take care of this dude and she was worried about what? She killed a
because she
friend
was
because that
on a
friend, I don't
leave
know.
or
It
yeah,
whatever. It didn't feel like there was character
yeah.
emotional growth in there for that romantic subplot that's supposed to carry the rom-com. The rom is supposed to be the
Dude,
subplot that
you
carries
and
it.
I just put too much heart into this, more heart in this movie than actually exists.
So it's too bad. I like the cast. I really do. I want to see them succeed. I want to see Anna de
Same.
Armas in some other awesome stuff. We love Chris Evans. He's done some
Shout
great
out to
stuff.
my
We love
Cuban sister.
uh,
She's Cuban American.
right. But I just I don't know. I wish it was better than it was.
I think
it
if you keep the cast and just bring
mhm.
in a whole new writing team with like a sequel, a whole
uh,
new writing team. Give us a Russo brothers or whomever.
uh, there's got to be
Whoever
someone
wrote
who
Lost City.
okay, can I toss out another spoiler here that I want to call out? And that is something I've seen quite a bit of, and it's not just this movie, but I'm seeing it often. And that is the celebrity faces showing up, just like obviously showing up as friends of the cast or director. So in this movie, egregiously,
I must have
Sebastian
missed this one.
Stan and
Oh
Anthony
yes,
Mackie
Anthony
show up.
Mackie.
They both show up for about I don't know 3 minutes each in a scene, a fun scene overall, but it's distracting
This is in the
when
beginning, though. This is in the beginning.
it's
Yeah,
about second act, right in the middle. But it's distracting when you have Chris Evans, known Captain America for a decade, and so you're trying to break that mold. You're trying to say, I can do other things. I can do uh, 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 a detective story. I can do this action. I can do this rom com that's not connected to this other stuff. But then you specifically bring in your co stars from that other movie. And
yeah.
as an audience member, I just simply go, you
Yeah,
pull the
the
meme,
Leo meme.
but you can't help it because as it is, when Chris Evans gets beat up, and you're like, "What's going on? Why isn't Captain America?" Oh, he's not Captain America. He's giving
Captain
me a
America.
different role. He's giving me growth character wise, and then you have Anthony Mackie show up, and then Sebastian Stan show up, and you're like, "Okay, I get it. You're fun. You're having fun with your friends, I guess." But it does kind of break a little bit of the movie.
Yeah, you know what? I when you first mentioned that, I didn't think I was gonna say to me. I thought it was kind of cute Easter egg, but hearing you and going back and remembering the movie, their roles was really inconsequential to the overall plot,
Yeah, I mean
and
that's
now it just
fine
feels like a
doing that.
waste. It feels like it feels like okay, you just had the two because you had the power to get the two of them in
Uh,
this
uh,
role, and God knows how much money they made off this, this little
and that's
cameo.
not even saying that there was another one, and that was Mr. Ryan Reynolds himself shows up for about 15 seconds at the
Oh
very
yeah,
end.
Ryan Reynolds and Matt Damon are battling in Hollywood for the most cameos in movies possible. Those two guys.
And it's like, wow, like why was okay, it's a comedy. I'm trying to step back and not be
Ryan
that guy
Reynolds
who's not
was
having
he
fun.
also a cameo in Lost City? Yeah, he was. But go ahead.
Brad Pitt was a great Brad Pitt was interesting cameo for Lost City because I don't relate Brad Pitt to Sandra Bullock. So him showing up is one thing. But when you relate got like certain actors together and they show up in each other's work,
Yeah.
it's just
What works
I
for
don't know.
Brad Pitt is he was a parody of himself. So you were in on the joke, on the comedy part of the rom com. Whereas Sebastian Stan, and I hate Anthony Mackie, as an actor, not as a human being. So
Right.
like to me that kind of
It's you know what it's okay if you're just gonna have fun with it, but I'm just saying, to me it's so weird because those actors are so intertwined over the last decade for me. I can't separate them from those roles.
I got you.
It's really hard. So Anthony Mackie, that guy's getting a lot of work. Like I'm
Oh
seeing him
God,
every freaking where.
listen,
Even
I'm
this
always gonna
horrible
support a black man making money in Hollywood. However, this particular actor, please, there's a lot of more other struggling. Give me Lakeith Stanfield. Give me Brian Henry. Give me, there's tons of other actors that need the
right.
job. Anthony
but
Mackie's
but
doing
just like
well. Pump the
Twisted
brakes on Anthony
Metal.
Mackie roles. Oh
Anyway,
my God, I
it's
saw that.
That looks terrible. But anyway, it's just that because even with Sebastian Stan in there, I think Sebastian Stan he's been trying too. Like he was in that Tommy Lee movie, like really trying to break away from their MCU-ness in some of these roles. But when you do something like this where all three of you come together,
He just needs a paycheck. Who knows?
that's
He's
okay. I
got a
mean,
$1 million townhouse in Brooklyn. You know, they're not cheap. You know, he's
I
got to
guess
pay taxes.
hey, Apple's got the money, let Apple give him the money. That's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, his agent is like, "Hey, man, we got bills to pay. This
That's
is
right.
role. I know you're not gonna like it, but your buddies are in this movie."
Okay, I guess the last thing I'll ask you, since we mentioned it, the last 10-15 minutes is a just one giant action set piece. Did you think it was designed well, or did it feel overly
No,
complex for what they were doing?
no. This felt like this is the part of the movie. If you remember, I was live texting you guys, you and Mike, that I
Mm,
was like shaking my head vigorously at how terrible the whole sequence is going. Like, this is where the part of the movie they're throwing most amount of their budget. And then Adrian Brody is going full ham on his character. Like he's method acting. I don't know what he's method acting, but he's all in. And I'm sitting there like, wow, this movie's lost a heart. Now it's just like one of those like terrible B sci-fi movies. I can't even follow the logic anymore. And then the conclusion just left me empty. Like I was like, this movie started the first act we mentioned with Chris, the
mm.
dating, the family was funny. The middle act was like, okay, there's more to come. Then the final act, I'm sitting there like, wow, somebody just shit the bed
Yeah, it
on the
didn't have the
creative part
heart
they
it
could have
needed
done.
to be a rom com.
And the thing is,
It did.
I
Yeah.
honestly, well, after the movie ended, I was trying to figure out what could they have done better in a third act, and I couldn't come up with a solid answer how they could have fixed it in a third act, like
No,
without redoing the entire movie.
yeah, there was no obvious fix to that third. It just felt like overly overly
Like
designed.
maybe the villain should have been like a counter version of them, right? Another spy couple who were spies born in together, and they're
Mhm.
well tuned, and they're controlling like a secret society of anti spies trying to get
I don't
this
know.
the
Anything. I
briefcase.
guess there's a
I
lot of
mean, to
places.
me, that would have been like, okay, now you've forced them to work on their relationship issues, right? Like they're not trusting each other. Now
Or
Chris Evans has to trust Anna, and Anna has to trust is not like,
he was an evil like couples therapist, and like during the fight, he was making them work out their problems. Whatever. I
oh
don't know.
shit. All right. Yeah, man, I'm ready
Anyway,
for
why
grades.
don't we let's grade this thing? Um,
You want to go
I
first?
guess I'm gonna go with a C plus. I did have some fun with it. I'm probably just grading it low because it felt
Because you're disappointed.
disappointed at the end. I really wanted more out of those two. I thought the trailer looked fun, and after um I've had fun with this type of movie before. Action rom com is I think is a fun genre that you can play with, and
When done well. Agreed.
yeah. What about you?
Um, what was Black Adam C plus? Yeah, I think I gave Black Adam a C
You just
plus.
want to get above or
This
below
one's
Black Adam. What are
above.
you
Yeah,
trying?
Black Adam's above this movie.
Oh
So
wow,
I'm gonna give it a
I don't agree with that
C.
at all.
A C. Maybe C minus. But I'm going
All
my gut
right,
instinct. I'm giving it a C. Solid C.
all
Because
right.
there's some rewatchable moments in the beginning, at least the first 30, 40 minutes of this movie. I wouldn't mind if it came on television or like network TV and the
Mhm.
first 30 minutes were playing, I would stop and watch that part and
Yeah.
laugh.
See,
So
it's definitely one of those where I wouldn't put it on, but if someone put it on, I might sit with them and watch.
depending where in the movie, yeah, I would be
Right?
like,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
wait, you're at the 50-minute mark? Yeah, I'm out.
Hey, I still have my phone. I can always stop watching. Yeah, I
Mm.
one thing I just don't want, and I've seen this as the discourse whenever there's a streaming movie. WA, the writers' strike. We're behind writers 100%. They should be getting their residuals
Thank you for
for
bringing that up.
streaming.
I totally forgot.
No
Thanks, Chris.
AI writers. Look, this is how bad humans write. I don't imagine how bad AI writing will be. Like, talk about awfully formulaic that people get upset with. Definitely don't want AI writers. Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm down for AI when it comes to certain things in technology engineering, but not when
CEOs,
it comes to
CEOs
replacing
replace them with
people.
AI.
Yeah, not when it comes to certain creative. I'm definitely not for any creative
Not for
segments of replacing
music,
with AI.
not for art, not for illustrations, not for movie making,
Because
writing.
that's what's make humanity humanity. The rest is just
Right.
numbers, which I agree we could
Exactly.
replace. But
Yeah. I'm
okay.
sorry. I'm sorry, accountants. You're going to be the first to go.
Oh yeah, accountants. I'm sorry, I can't defend you guys.
you guys are kind of doing
IRS.
the machine thing already.
Yeah, you too, IRS.
That's right. Um, all right. So anyway, what I was going to say is, I see a lot of discourse about how, oh, these crappy movies get made as a lowest common denominator for streaming, and it's ruining movies. And I just want to tell people that bad movies have always been made. You just don't remember them because they get left behind in the theater, or you know you're a 4 hour ABC, 4 episode ABC movie of the week
Miniseries.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah, I
miniseries,
remember those.
right? Like these things have always been made low budgets or medium budgets. Right now, unfortunately, these are weirdly high budget, but that's because these actors are making more money. But yeah, I would say this is 10 years ago. This would have been to the theater. It would have went to the theater. It would have made, you know, been made for 45, $50 million. It would have made 15. It would have been an abject failure. It would have gotten terrible reviews, and then it would have left the theater in 30 days, and it would be on your ABC Friday night
You know what the difference
90 days
is,
later.
Chris?
What?
Is that people aren't, because not everybody's a reviewer. Not everybody's like us,
Mm-hmm.
podcast reviewing these movies, talking about it. Whereas 20 years ago, it was like just Roger and Ebert, right? And if a movie
Right.
was that bad, they wouldn't even talk about it if the movie's that bad. It would be like a blip on like Harrison Ford's or Chris Evans on like
Right.
their like yeah, he had, remember Harrison Ford had that one movie where he had killed his wife and then came back. This was like in the late 90s. Forgot the name of the movie. Terrible movie. But we don't remember that in his resume. No one talked about it back then. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't talk about it now. Whereas now it's 2023. We all have media access at home to watch these movies and then go directly online, social media,
Yeah.
and
Right.
critique the hell out of these movies.
Exactly. I get it. Let them make bad movies. It's okay. We had an hour and 45 minutes or whatever that it was that me and my family sat down. We watched a movie. We used to pay for that privilege at Blockbuster where you're going, you guys think this is any good? This came out when? This came out 3 years ago. Why didn't we see it then? I don't know. That does it have a review on the back? Yes, this is brilliant.
It says
Right?
Roger Ebert, two thumbs down.
Right,
But look at
exactly.
the cast. Look at the cast.
Right,
We
like in the
can go by the
cat.
cast.
Like you said, it's got Harrison Ford on the front. How bad can it be? It's got Harrison Ford. I love Harrison Ford. You know, and then you get a gem. You'll be like, oh, Passenger 57 was amazing. Why wasn't this like bigger in the theater? I don't know. It wasn't bigger in the theater. It was fun. It was a lot of you
Yeah.
just don't know. That's the thing. You don't know. Maybe there's magic between these two casts, and sometimes you're like, oh, okay, these two big, high profile actors just don't work well together. Oh, well. So
Depending on what the writing is. But yeah.
I would say if you're sitting down with a date, this is a fine date movie, though I they are a little bickering. So don't expect it to like it's not gonna raise the libido at all, that's for sure.
If you're sitting down with a date, go watch Lost City. I think it's on Netflix
Yes,
still.
Lost City, Sandra Bullock
Yeah.
and Channing Tatum, which worked.
Yeah.
That was a surprise one. I did not think those two would work well together, and those work much better. Though I would say, for me, this is below Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but above Night and Day. Night and
And
Day
to
was
me,
terrible.
all of them fall below True Lies. True Lies is the
And
original
True Lies. True
godfather
Lies
of
is the
rom
top.
com, action rom com. I should
Action
say, not
rom-com.
rom
The
com.
action. All right. So why don't we finish off? You guys,
Folks. Oh, go ahead, Chris. Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say,
Take us
just
out.
come
Take us out.
come and talk to us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Heroes Peak. While Twitter is still active until it gets taken down for being an enemy of the state, something like that. Just come talk to us, give
Instagram,
us
Facebook.
opinions. Tell us what your favorite
Leave
action
comments.
rom-com is. If there's something we didn't talk about that we should talk about, let us know. If there's a show coming out that you want us to talk about, let us know. We're looking in the future. We're going to talk about Visions season 2 in a few weeks.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. We Citadel. We want to talk about Citadel. That looks
like it's a good. I mean, it's not too much comedy, but yeah,
no.
looks like a good.
I like
rom dramedy. Was that a word? No, rom.
I don't think
drama rom.
Was there that much comedy?
Romance
I guess
drama.
there was. They had. I thought the two leads had some.
Stanley Tucci's character was probably more comedic than
Yes,
anything else.
yeah, you're right. Stanley Tucci character was good. What series did I just watch? Oh, not the Black Phone. That's the horror movie.
The Night Agent.
The Night Agent. Yes.
Yes, I knew exactly what you meant when you said the Black Phone.
That's a completely different thing.
Yes, Night Agent. That's a good one. That's
I guess that's pretty serious.
Netflix too, right?
That's not.
No, there's some comedic moments too, but yeah, people
but
die.
It's definitely more.
The
it's
death
definitely
parts
more,
make it more serious.
Yeah, it's definitely more drama than comedy on that one. But that also has the leads have a pretty decent.
Great.
Though I didn't think the acting was not as good as so far on Citadel. I think Citadel is the superior so far.
Yeah, but look at the two actors. They're up and coming actors. They're not like freaking Chris Evans and Ana de Armas. Come on. Or I'm sorry, the dude from Game of Thrones and Jonas's brother's wife, Priyanka.
Priyanka Chopra.
Right? Yes, Jonas. Don't forget her last name now.
Oh, Chopra - Jonas. I don't. Still don't know how to.
My daughter explained
I'm still
it to me. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, let's end for the night. I want to thank you, James, for joining me, and I want to thank everybody out there for joining us on another edition of the Star Wars Show.
And may the 4th be with you.
And also with you. Have a good night.
Hey, Indigo made the beat.